Welcome to the Grief Guardian podcast. I am your host, Grant Cosgrove. During this podcast series, I will be guiding you through the hardest journey, life after losing a loved one, empowering resilience, healing, and hope, one step at a time. In today's podcast, we are looking at one of the many types of grief. Grief is something we all experience at some point, but not all grief is the same. According to experts, an individual may experience up to 20 different types of grief. Let's explore in this episode chronic grief. What is chronic grief? Chronic grief is a form of grief that never seems to ease, lingering long after a loss. Grief is a natural aspect of loss, and while it doesn't have a set timeline, most people gradually adjust. However, for some, grief remains intense and unrelenting, making it difficult to move forward. This is known as chronic grief, and it can feel like being stuck in an emotional fog that refuses to lift. Let's explore what chronic grief is, its symptoms, causes, impacts, and most importantly, how to find ways to heal and reclaim life. What is chronic grief? Chronic grief is a persistent, intense mourning that does not decrease over time. Instead of gradually adapting to life without a loved one, people experiencing chronic grief feel stuck in a deep sorrow for years, sometimes even decades. It can feel like being trapped in a cycle of grief, unable to accept the loss or move forward. Unlike normal grief, which softens with time, chronic grief remains just as painful as it was in the beginning. People with chronic grief often constantly relive memories of the loss, struggle to envision a future without their loved one, feel like they can't function normally in everyday life, experience prolonged emotional pain, loneliness, or emptiness. Chronic grief isn't just long-term sadness, it's a lasting emotional wound that doesn't seem to heal. What are the signs and symptoms of chronic grief? Chronic grief is more than just missing someone. It comes with intense and lasting emotional distress that doesn't fade over time. Here are some key signs: ongoing sadness or depression that never improves, inability to accept the loss even years later, constant preoccupation with thoughts of the deceased, feeling emotionally stuck, life ended with the loss, difficulty engaging in daily life, relationships or work, avoidance of reminders of the person, or on the other hand, an obsession with keeping everything the same. Long-term isolation, withdrawal from social interactions. Physical symptoms like fatigue, headaches, or chronic pain related to emotional distress. If grief feels as raw and painful years later as it did in the beginning, it may be chronic grief. What causes chronic grief? Not everyone experiences chronic grief, so what makes it different? Several factors can make grief more difficult to process, leading to its prolonged nature. 1. Sudden or traumatic loss. A shocking, unexpected loss, such as an accident, suicide, or violent event, can make it harder to process. 2. Loss of a deeply attached relationship. Losing a child, spouse, or lifelong companion can feel unbearable. 3. Unresolved emotions or unfinished business. If there were conflicts, regrets, or things left unsaid, grief can linger. 4. Lack of a support system. Feeling isolated or not having emotional support can make it harder to move through grief. 5. Pre-existing mental health struggles, depression, anxiety, or past trauma can make grief harder to process. 6. Avoidance of grief. Suppressing emotions instead of confronting them can keep someone stuck in grief. 7. Feeling responsible for the loss. Survivor's guilt or self-blame can keep grief active for years. When grief is complicated by trauma, guilt, isolation, or an inability to process emotions, it becomes harder to move forward. What are the impacts of chronic grief? Chronic grief isn't just emotional, it affects every aspect of life. Emotionally, persistent sadness, hopelessness, and deep emotional pain. Mentally, difficulty concentrating, brain fog, or obsessing over the past. Physically, chronic fatigue, weakened immune system, appetite changes. Behaviourally, withdrawal from family, work struggles, avoiding responsibilities. Socially, isolating from loved ones, struggling to maintain relationships. If left unaddressed, chronic grief can lead to long-term depression, anxiety disorders, and even physical health issues. What are some coping strategies for healing from chronic grief? If you or someone you love is experiencing chronic grief, there is hope. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning to carry the loss in a way that allows you to keep living. Here are some steps toward healing. 1. Acknowledge the grief. Recognizing that you are experiencing chronic grief is the first step to healing. 2. Seek professional help. A therapist or grief counsellor can help process stuck emotions and develop coping strategies. 3. Re-engage with life. Start small steps towards normalcy, like socialising, hobbies, or self-care. 4. Challenge negative thought patterns. If guilt or regret is keeping you stuck, therapy can help reframe your perspective. 5. Express grief in a healthy way. Journaling, art, music, or rituals that can help release emotions that feel trapped. 6. Create new meaning. Honouring your loved one through memorials, storytelling, or acts of kindness can provide healing. 7. Practice self-compassion. Healing is not about forgetting, it's about learning to live while carrying the love you still have. 8. Reconnect with support. Surround yourself with people who understand and can help you through the process. Healing doesn't happen overnight, but taking small, intentional steps can help grief become more manageable. Chronic grief can feel like a lifelong shadow, but you don't have to walk through it alone. With time, support, and intentional healing, it is possible to find a way forward while still honouring the love you carry. Remember, grief is a journey and you don't have to walk it alone. Be gentle with yourself and keep moving forward one step at a time. In the next episode, let's explore absent grief. If you enjoyed this content, please follow me on my socials. You can find me on Facebook as The Grief Guardian and on Instagram as Grant_A_Cosgrove or by searching for The Grief Guardian. I'll include the links in the show notes. Feel free to reach out and connect with me or leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and questions. Are there any topics you'd like me to cover?